Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans, and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people, and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks, so that you can win each day, every day.
Probably have fans, people telling you, oh, this is my favorite song of Satsang. What's your favorite Satsang song?
So far.
Right
yeah,
on.
Reason being, like I said, usually I write really fast. You know, the quick story behind that song was the first verse was written right before we did our first run of shows with Franti. So we had done a few shows with him in Florida, and then we found out that he offered us the rest of the year. So it was like, you know, and I spent all but like $17 in my account to get to Florida to play these shows with Franti, because in my mind I was like, okay, well, we're playing this venue in St. Pete where the green room is on a balcony. There's no way he's not going to watch our set. If he watches our set, there's no way he's not going to want us to open for him. That's a lot. That's a lot of fucking chips to put in on that hand. And I put all of them in. And that's what happened. So the first verse was written within 15 minutes after finding out that Michael Franti wanted us to go on tour with him. Then went touring so hard that my relationship with my wife and my kids was strained. I didn't have any sense of identity. Our band member quit via email after we just played 2 huge shows with Trevor Hall. The agency that sat me and my wife and my children down and told me that they build lifelong careers and that they wanted to work with me for the rest of my career fucking dropped me 3 weeks after I told them that I was having a baby.
So fall of 17, it all hit the fan.
Hit the motherfucking fan. And I was just like, it's the closest I come to quitting. So I told everybody. I told Carl, my management. I was like, I'm taking 6 months off. I don't know what's going to happen after this, but I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I felt so betrayed. I felt so angry. You know, for a dude that already admittedly has a chip on his shoulder, for all that shit to happen at one time, I was just like, everybody. And then I went to the Grindhouse and I started training, and we didn't have an agent, so my managers booked these headline shows for us in these smaller clubs. We had no idea what was going to happen. We're just like, all right, I guess we'll go back on tour and we'll fucking see what happens. And we sold out all the 4 shows. And it was just kind of this like, whoa, you know? And I went from like the deepest depression of my life to giving my life to martial arts for 6 months to having my son, and then to go back out and be received by everyone and be like, we have fans now? What the fuck? We have fans? And I had left this verse vacant because there was like 3 or 4 different artists that I wanted to be on so far, and we were in Asheville, North Carolina, and I was like, fuck this, man, I'll write a verse right now. And I did, and I wrote verse 2. So it was like, it's the only song I've ever written in my life with this like huge disparity and almost a year between verses, you know, over a year between verses. And then what I went through between verse 1 and verse 2, like I listen to that song still, and I just like, man, and that's really my baby laughing in there, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, everything about that song, man, it means so much to me.
What up, y'all? It's your boy Rich Airey, a.k.a. the 100-Mile Dick. As always, I'm with my dance partner, the Prince of 1512, Prince James.
You. What up, Dog Pound?
And we're doing something a little bit different here because we've got so many shows lined up for y'all. We are releasing Drew McManus of Satsang, and this is his episode. This is Drew's second time with the Airey Bros. He came in early and did a phone interview and was in town or in the area for the Arise Festival back beginning of August, I think it was. So he drove down from Fort Collins and jumped on and got in studio with us, and so this was a epic episode we recorded. And I mean, Drew's just an amazing person. He's a real ass dude. He's humble, kind of follows along some of the same paths and some of the same upbringings that we've had. So it was really cool to have the opportunity to spend some time with him and connect with him, both on the podcast and then just in real life, going grab some food and hanging out post show at Arise.
Yeah, it was one of those experiences going into meeting Drew. I was already a fan of his music, and then after having him in studio, getting to go out to dinner with him afterwards and bro out, and then getting to see him play at Arise and hanging out with him and Satsang at Arise just made me more of a fan. Just, this is a real-ass dude who's 100% genuine, and what you see is what you get with him. And I think the experience we had with him even prior to recording, we had some studio booking issues, and Richie and myself almost got up on someone, and Richie and this other person were face-to-face, and when I saw that happen, I got up, I proceeded to move over there, and when I turned around, Drew was right behind me, and I was stoked. I was like, wow, he didn't have to get up, he could have left at that moment, been like, these guys are assholes, I don't want to be around them. And then, once we got in the studio, I was super apologetic, and Drew was like, no way, man, no way, I got you guys all day. And once that happened, he's an Airey bro for life.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't worried about that after that altercation took place, because I was talking with him, kind of getting to know him, sitting outside as you were doing some stuff, and kind of got into it a little bit. Or you were keeping your cool, and the gentleman was continually raising his voice and doing what he does around these parts. And then when he referred to me as a kid is when I had to get up and say, motherfucker, I'm 43. I'll take you outside and show you who the kid is. And so as I got up to see Drew get up, I had no worries. I could tell my heart rate was elevating as you two were kind of going back and forth, and yeah, I was trying to keep my cool, but like Uncle Steve says, no one is above getting checked. And once I felt like the level of disrespect had gotten away from us, it was time for me to kind of inject myself into that situation and let our friend know that you don't fuck with 1512.
No, not at all. And that was just something that was building up, and someone trying to use their power and just kind of push us out of here, even though we had gone through the proper protocol. So, that kind of set it off, set the tempo, and then we had a good hour in the studio with Drew, and then when we went out to dinner, 3-4 hours, I was just thinking of all the conversations we were having. Like, man, we left a lot on the table. This dude is a really interesting dude who's got some really interesting opinions, and we could talk to him for 3 to 4 hours, Joe Rogan style, on here if we had the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just having people in studio allows for that, as opposed to doing stuff over the phone. But yeah, it was cool. Great episode. I think we touched on the music side of things, but there was definitely a lot of that mixed martial arts talk, or martial arts practice, and what that has done for him and what it's done for us. And I just think that is something that's invaluable, is whether it's wrestling or jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or boxing, whatever it may be. I think that those sorts of practices, they create certain kind of individuals. So it was really cool to connect on that level. And yeah, just like I said, he's a real ass dude, and totally down to earth, and didn't have to, this all started from I think a post or a DM on Instagram or something, and then all of a sudden we're hanging out with him, and to go from just chilling, talking, going out to dinner, and then walking around Arise afterwards, and literally in mid-conversation, people kind of come up like all sheepishly, and he's like, hey, how's it going? And they're just like, is it all right if I hug you? You're like, what? People are asking you if they can hug you? That shit just blew my mind. But, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, he's super humble. He's super appreciative. He's super grateful for the fans that he has, the support that he's gotten and what they've built. Yeah, I mean, it's just really cool to know that there are people out there that are just real-ass people and willing to be a part of what we have going on, and hopefully, you know, through us, you know, more people are going to be turned on to Satsang. Some of our listeners who may or may not know of Drew and of the band, you know, will now check it out. So super excited for this episode to air and for some of the other ones that are coming up here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and to touch on what you had mentioned and to kind of go back to what one of our future guests said, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to someone. I had seen Drew had hurt his knee when we were living in Leadville, and that was when I was kind of in the thick of my recovery and dealing with some issues, both physically and mentally. And I just, you know, put a comment out on a post, you know, hey, stay in it, brother. Like, just know your music has helped me get through having knee surgery and the recovery. Not thinking of anything of it, just, you know, giving him props. And then he reached back out to me, and then, you know, started following each other and, you know, just talking. And, you know, now we're friends. And we were hanging out at a Rise, and he shouted us out at a Rise, which just blew my mind. You know, before his favorite song so far, hey, I want everyone to check out Airey Bros Radio. I was just in there, did an interview with these guys. They're the best guys in the Front Range. Just blew my mind. And then when we had him in studio, he was telling a story that you guys will hear on this podcast about, you know, 5-6 years prior, watching Xavier Rudd with his wife saying, hey, I could be up there doing this. And he was in that same time spot as Xavier Rudd was 5 years prior. And he was telling us in studio, he's like, hey, we're going to knock this out of the park. You guys watch and wait till you hear what we have done to I Am. And they knocked it out of the park, and they closed with I Am. And you had mentioned to Drew after the show, and we had talked about it, when everyone just kind of screamed and put their hands up and let everything go. That was a real feeling and a real experience. And one of the best experiences I've had at a concert when they played that song.
Yeah, that was probably the most moving experience I've ever taken in at any sort of concert or event. And just you bringing that up just kind of brought up some emotions and stuff. So, yeah, very powerful and, you know, definitely moving experience, and very grateful and appreciative to be able to take that in. Yeah, I mean, let's get into the episode. You know, this is Drew McManus of Satsang, and I'm sure Jimmy both hope that you enjoy this conversation as much as we did.
We got hit, dude. It's fine.
You got to witness the Airey Bros at their worst. Awesome.
Once he said kid, or
Yeah, young man.
So we're recorded, but just to give you a little backstory, he's just that dude that just grinds our gears every time we're in here, and when he goes in there, he just makes it his own. And today was me and Rich have been trying to harness our inner Jersey, so you got to see that.
I love it, dude.
Oh, man.
We just had my boys are both like, everyone in my crew is like the most non-confrontational, like calm stoner dudes ever, and they constantly have to put up with like the dumb shit that I'll do. Like, we're at Whole Foods and we're sitting there eating in the eating court, and this guy's leaving and fucking leaves his cart, ditches his cart right in the fucking center of where people come in and out. So I just walked out. I was like, hey, bud. And he turned around. I was like, you forgot your fucking cart. The cart returns over there. And he was like, what? And then he like grabbed it, you know what I mean? Mugged me as he was doing it. And the guys are just like, fuck, man.
That's like being with Richie.
Yeah, it's like what we talked about the last time, is that balance of being peaceful and being Zen-like, but then